Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime. Good evening, everybody. As you can see, our normal host, Robbie Davis, is down celebrating his 10-year anniversary with his lovely wife, Allison. So, of course, he is not with us tonight. And also, we will be without the late one, Raj Mehta. He is a little under the weather, went away for a wedding over this past weekend, and unfortunately came back with the flu bug. That's always a bummer. And he's going to be heading out to Las Vegas next week, so he's getting his rest up. But it's just going to be me and Brandon tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about week one of the NFL schedule. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to check out the matchups for that particular week, but wow, it's the NFL is proving why they are king. They're starting the season off with a bang. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to hit on the NBA draft lottery. Does it need to be revamped a little bit? Little suspicious. My Detroit Pistons got a little hosed. 17-win season. They get the 5th pick. I'm not happy about that at all. But anyways, we'll hit on that. We're going to hit on the NBA Conference Finals as well as the NHL Conference Finals. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ja Morant. What a crazy situation there in Memphis, and how are they going to handle it? So that'll be interesting. So we'll talk about that. And the PGA Championship is underway down in, out in Rochester, New York. Kind of a crazy day. Some of the big names not doing so well. So without further ado, I'm going to add in here just the two. Brandon, what's up, my friend?
What's going on? It is just the two of us tonight. We're going to kill it, though. Love it.
Brandon, what's up tonight, my friend?
What's going on, buddy? Yeah, it's sad to hear Raj sick tonight, but it's all good. I get it. That sucks, you know. And of course, we all need our vacation time and Robbie's anniversary, so that's definitely a no-go. I know my wife would be like, absolutely not. So I totally get that one.
Yeah, I know he was contemplating last week whether or not he'd jump on it, but it was like, no, man, enjoy yourself, take a break. Yeah. You deserve it. Don't think about us yahoos for a week, and we'll get back at it next week. So
yeah, for sure.
But this is going to be just the two of us as the song was playing. So it'll be interesting, a little different format tonight. So we're going to jump right in to the week one NFL schedule. Wow. I mean, it's one heck of a lineup, starting with the Lions at the Chiefs on Thursday night. And we'll kind of dig right into the matchups here. Big time games. You got divisional matchup right out the gate, Cleveland, Cincinnati. You got the Bears and Packers. Rivalry games there. Rivalry games between the Raiders and the Broncos. Giants and the Cowboys. And then Monday night, the finale with Aaron Rodgers being on display in week one.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo and New York. What do you take about the NFL here, looking at that schedule, that list? Like, what is your take seeing? Is this calculated, or is the NFL just proving why they are the top of the mountain here?
Yeah, I think it's both, man. I mean, it's definitely calculated. This is like bam, like everyone leading up to it, all of us NFL fans, when when it starts coming around the corner, we're all itching just to watch football, and we can't wait for it. We suffer through the preseason games, and that's not really football, and then
No.
we're just itching. And man, do they come out with a bang here? I mean, this is one of the best opening weekends in the NFL that I can remember, probably within the last 10 years. The Lions Chiefs, you say, 3-4 years ago, this would have been just a dud game.
Oh, yeah.
But the
Too
way
many
the Lions have been performing as of late last year, and they got so much better in the draft, this is going to be a really good game here. I'm really interested in this one for sure. And then, of course, the banger on Monday Night Football it's going to be great. Also, notice for the first time, the Bears are favored over the Packers here.
Yeah.
You
Now,
got a young QB in Fields there, 2 years in, and then Jordan Love, who's been riding the pine for. I mean, I feel like he's been there for 5-6 years, but he's
it
probably
seems
only
that way.
2 or
Yeah.
3. So it's gonna be very interesting week one, man. I'm already excited, and that's what they do. This schedule release, that's part of their plan. Is just to get you excited, thinking NFL nonstop.
Yeah. Looking into that Bears Packer game. If the Bears come out on top, then I think Justin Fields can start the Green Bay "I own you" chants like Aaron Rodgers used to do.
That's right.
Um, but I'm looking through this schedule and I'm seeing some games right now with the spreads. And I will go with the Lions and the Chiefs. It's a touchdown favorite for
Mhm.
Kansas City. I don't know if that's the case. That's
I
interesting.
I agree 100%. The Lions are going to be dangerous, and this is a big statement game for them, especially week one, to kind of put the NFL on notice of where they stand. That it wasn't a fluke. The program and the culture that's being built there is starting to really take fruition, and it's exciting, I guess,
Yeah.
especially for a Lions fan uh, to see. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for you. So definitely looking forward to that game.
Well, I look at it this way. The NFL is not going to schedule that game unless they feel confident that the Lions are going to be competitive. And I really do believe that the NFL believes that the hype train behind the Lions is real, or else
Mm-hmm.
they would have never booked this game. And they had an opportunity for so many other unbelievable games that they could have put up an AFC Championship rematch, even an NFL Super Bowl rematch with them. So to
Mm-hmm.
put the Lions there, the highlight, because obviously this is the biggest game coming out into this to start the season. All eyes on them. They don't put them in this slot unless they felt confident that they're going to go in there and give Kansas City everything they can handle.
I agree 100% because, like you said, they had so many options there, but I think it's a two-way road there. Like, hey, we believe in what the Lions are doing. Now go out and show us.
Right.
Like, you know, I I'm kind of leaning Lions +7 here.
Mm.
Uh, week one, that's a lot of points in the NFL, and the Lions only got better than last year. Even though some of them are rookies, but
Will you look at opening night, Kansas City, getting their rings, dropping the banner? It's a lot of pressure. And
mm-hmm.
now they have to play a team that's coming in, finishing last season at 8-2. And I get, does momentum carry over from one season to another? That's to be determined. But all indications are they're going to keep it rolling because, like you said, they did get better. And so the pressure really is on Kansas City to be able to withstand that. Will they win? Good chance, but at 7 points, I really think I agree with you. That's a big number.
Yeah, it is. I'm not a big believer in, momentum carrying over to the next season. Just because the NFL, the transition and the turnover is so dominant in each team most of the time. And what it does, and the Lions absolutely have zero pressure on them right now.
Right.
I mean, they've been the Lions for however long. I mean, they have zero pressure on them. Now they're getting better. They're starting to gain some traction, and they're getting in some primetime spots now to kind of highlight that. And I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see some people really understand where the Lions are coming from and what's being built in that culture there. Again, the Chiefs are probably going to win this game, but 7 point. I mean, I put it closer to a field goal or even 6, maybe 2 field goals. Lions defense is great. Offense has gotten much better, so it's going to be a fun one.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for that one. Looking at your Titans going into New Orleans, and they will be debuting their new quarterback, Derek Carr. I'm a firm believer of the old chip on the shoulder. And I look at Derek Carr as somebody that wants to prove to the Raiders that they made a mistake. Unfortunately, it's coming against your Titans. What do you feel about this particular game?
I have no idea where the Titans are right now and what this new team's going to look like. I feel a little better about the offensive line for sure. But we just really didn't get better anywhere else on the offensive side. Our receiving core is one of the worst in the NFL. Derrick Henry, of course, we've got him, but everyone's going to key on him. It's going to force Tannehill. So week 1, offensive line hasn't really had that much time to gel. I think there's still going to be some mistakes made there. I think 3.5 is a pretty good number. I would take the Saints on this one. Derek Carr is a veteran, which, I mean, him and Tannehill are kind of one and the same, to be honest. I mean, they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're both, top 18, top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL. And that's, and there's only 32 jobs. It's not half bad.
Sure.
Yeah. Middle to lower middle.
They're quarterbacks that rely on the line. If they have an offensive line that can keep them upright, they'll be able to do what they do best. And the last couple, at least the last season, in Tannehill's case, that offensive line was pretty depleted. So, I mean, if they've improved on that, you know what, he could have a halfway decent year, especially in that division.
He could. And, our defense is still pretty stout. So I'm not going to pick them just because I don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah, right.
I just kind of chalking this season up as another part of the rebuilding situation. So we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I hope I am. But, we got a new stadium to build, and the prices they're asking, man, that team better be really damn good soon.
Yeah. Now, staying with the Titans, is Mike Vrabel in any danger of losing his job? Say they go a couple years, or is he's got that job?
No, he's one of the best things that's happened to the Titans. I mean, just the culture he's brought there has been phenomenal. I think that's why J-Rob went and not Vrabel, because it was mainly his decisions. And if you look back at that A.J. Brown trade, and there was a clip of Vrabel in the war room, and he was pissed. And we talked about this before on the show. Like he told AJ Brown to his face, like, as long as I'm here, you're not. And, he was probably told that himself by
Sure.
J-Rob. So, it just it felt like it was a stab in the back. He went behind his back and he was always trying to build currency and like get the cheapest player, like the Belichick way. Like, only Belichick's
Development.
been good at that and that development. And like,
Mhm.
right as someone's kind of capping out or at their very top, then you get rid of them, get the best value, and then try and rebuild from there. But I like the Rams, model better, where it's like sell out with the talent you have and win now. Like, because you go through this process and you get stuck and just rebuild and like trying to trade your.
Which they're doing now.
Yeah, I know exactly, and we've been going through this. Like, I mean, it's been awful. So it's
Coming
just a
coming from a
constant.
Lions fan, futility since 1957. Haven't had a playoff win since '91. I remember it like it was yesterday against the Cowboys. They absolutely mollywopped them, and then went to Washington and got their rear ends mollywopped. So bitter disappointment in '91, but they've had a couple playoff runs. So I am very, very well aware of rebuild and disappointment. So unfortunately, that's a situation in Tennessee. But outside of our fandom games, is there a particular game on this list that you're looking forward to?
Definitely Monday Night Football. Like I said, we talked about this before after the trade was made, and straight up, I would take the Jets over the Bills just because of the way they're built, their defense, and then their offensive weapons, and adding Rodgers to that. And that was the missing piece.
Yeah.
And that's like I was talking about, that this is the sellout to win now mentality, because in NFL you only get a short window, right, with your talent before you got to start capping out and trading players to fit in within the cap. And I like to see the Jets Bills game here. This is really going to be a test, and it's for all eyes to see on Monday night.
That might be one of the highest rated Monday Night Football games of all time. We'll have to go back after week one and look at the ratings and kind of talk about that when we get to that point. The game I'm interested in is the Sunday night game, Dallas at New York. Number one, there's already talks in Dallas. Will Dak Prescott be extended? I feel like that was just last year we were talking about a contract with him. He really hasn't lived up to it. Unfortunately, he had that really devastating injury a couple years ago. And then on the flip side, you've got Danny Dimes gets his big time contract, $45 million, I think it is. He had a really good playoff game last year. I guess that's probably what got him the money. And then Saquon gets the tag that he ends up picking up. So it's kind of a put up or shut up for New York, and obviously Dallas is America's team, which I don't agree with. They're the biggest hype train in the NFL. So on the road in New York, divisional game, huge. So there's a lot at stake in that game as well.
No, I agree. And that conference is slowly getting better. It used to be one of the worst conferences.
We called it the NFC least at the start of last year because we didn't think any team was going to be worthy. I think some of us picked the Commanders to win that division. Boy, were we wrong.
I know. Dallas kind of, picked it up there late in the season, but I agree. Dak is just so inconsistent. Like he can have a game that's so good and he looks like he's worth every penny, and then he throws 2 or 3 interceptions the next game and it's just a disaster. So I don't know if he can grow out of that. I mean, he's running out of time quickly. But Danny Dimes is an interesting cat because I think his average yardage last year was like 150 or 165 yards per game is what he passed for. So, I mean, you look at that in a passing league, it's like, ugh, do
That
you
that
really feel comfortable about that? Like, he's not a guy, like, he's a game manager. I get it. You don't have, but
he
if you're
made
going to
plays
pay,
with his legs as well too.
he
So,
did, he
but
did. And that, I think that really kind of pushed him over the edge. But, Fields is shaping up to be kind of the very similar quarterback
mhm,
to Danny Dimes, who's not going to throw for a lot of yardage, can make plays with his legs,
right.
rely on the run game, and that sort. So I think there's a market for those quarterbacks on these teams. But it is interesting is the NFL has moved so prevalent to or predominant to the passing game that
Yeah.
these quarterbacks are still finding ways to fit in and get paid for it. So
Mhm.
it's very interesting to see.
And being in New York with that contract, the pressure involved,
Oh
and the
yeah,
same can be said with Dak in Dallas. Is the pressure something that maybe is keeping him from hitting his peak? But then again, you look at it, he was like a 5th round draft pick, Dak,
hmm
and then Danny Dimes, he went to Duke. He had 1 year. I think he was a 1st round draft pick. So those are probably two of the hardest positions in the toughest fan bases for
sure.
success, because I'm talking you're under the microscope every single week, and you slip up, boy, they're going to let you know about it.
Yeah, I mean, we think we have it bad for what have you done for me lately? Those
Eh,
markets,
Right.
and Philly, I would add Philly in there too. Thankfully,
Oh yeah.
uh, Hertz got him to the Super Bowl, so he's good for a year.
Yeah, he's got a free pass card.
Yeah, he's good for a year. That's about it. If he sucks this year, they're gonna be like
Oh man,
chopping block.
$255 million for what?
Yeah,
Deshaun Watson.
179 guaranteed.
So, but yeah, I mean, basically to put a cap on this one, the NFL's king, and they're only proving it just by these huge interconference matchups from top to bottom. So definitely looking forward to the NFL season. It's going to be a good one, and boy, my Lions. I'm eating the corn. I can't wait. So, moving on to the next topic here. Draft lottery took place here the other night. Yours truly was waiting with bated breath to see my beloved Detroit Pistons draw in the first pick. And if that was to happen, our good buddy JP was going to shotgun a beer live on the Easy Speak podcast. Needless to say, didn't happen.
No good.
17-win season. Hey, you get the 5th pick. I think it's ridiculous. And I know I'm showing my bias and my homerism, but you want to talk about futility. That's been the Detroit Pistons since the Bad Boys and the going to work era in 2004. So talk about a team that has not represented a new arena is the Pistons, and it looks like that's just going to continue, which is it's a shame. Um, but what I want to talk about is what is your thoughts about the fact that nobody saw how this drawing took place? All of a sudden, there's this envelope with all the numbers in it, and then the show begins. Supposedly, one person witnessed it. Come on, what do you think about that?
Man, it smells really fishy to me. Didn't they used to show the
Yeah,
balls drop and they
yeah.
picked them out.
Yep. Deloitte
So
Deloitte and Touche was the company that came out and would do it.
that's what I don't understand. Like if you like that's transparency at its finest. Like then there's no questions about this,
Mhm.
and it completely is honest and true. But now when you're in a back room and only one person gets to see, it's like, come on, we're not stupid here.
Yeah.
Anything can go on back there. Like there's where are the checks and balances? Like where like people, fans, want to see that,
Right.
yes, it's proven, it's true. So it's, I'm not accusing, but it just seems really fishy to me. And then you get like powerhouse big markets that get these number one draft picks all the time. And, this big center who, guess what? The Spurs are known for a
Mm-hmm.
big center. And it's just, coincidence.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very speculative right now.
hence the name of the show. And the same can be said with the NHL. The NHL did the same
Sure.
thing. All of a sudden, boom, they've got the guy announcing it. It's like, wait a minute. Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. And in that situation, Chicago, or as my good buddy Bill Wirtz calls it, Chicago, because he's from the Chicago area. Their center, their face of the franchise, Jonathan Taves, retiring. Oh, here comes the next face of the Blackhawks, Connor Bedard. Wow, coincidence.
Yeah, all of a sudden,
I think it's bubkiss. I don't like it. And the fact of the matter is, you win from the Pistons situation, you win 17 games. Your hope is that you get the opportunity to have the best player. And boy, would Victor Wembanyama would have looked good in the red, white, and blue Detroit Pistons. But that's not the case. And misery continues. But it's just I don't like it. And I would love to see one day where it goes back to the way it used to be. And I know they say that the lottery basically takes the tanking out of it, but you also got to look at it this way. Detroit had the same percentage opportunity as two other teams that had like 6 or 7 more wins than them. So where's the fairness here? And of course, I'm just venting on live
sure.
internet, but
I don't disagree with the lottery per se. It's the action of how they go about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was all done in front of everyone on live TV where you could see it, just like they do the real lottery, when they draw the balls, like you see it on TV. There's no, like, why can't you see that? How long does that take? Then you just, you pull up a ball and it's that note, and you don't have to walk over with an envelope. It's like, it's dumb to me that they don't do that.
And it takes all the questions out.
And the only reason you can think of why they wouldn't do that is because maybe there's some
little collusion,
some things going on that they don't want people to know. So,
right. Well, San Antonio's been, this is a powerhouse franchise. They haven't really done a whole lot in the past few years. I think we need to get them the big guy. I agree. Greg Popovich. Yep. We want him to stay in the NBA.
We know how to build a team around a center.
Yes. Little sketchy in my opinion.
I agree.
Staying in the NBA, before we hit the NBA playoffs, a couple topics. Ja Morant. Man, if there's trouble, this guy seems to find it in the last couple years. Is this a fixable situation with him, or are we just looking at a guy that frankly doesn't care or just doesn't get it? What do you think about Ja Morant?
Man, first off, oozing with talent. One of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA. I mean, when he's on TV, you want to watch him. You want to tune in. And he's getting paid for it. And he's going to get he was going to get paid even more. But the antics off the court, like, I thought really this last time it would have woke him up, with the suspension and the big media draw out, like how he affected his team and how how they played after he came back and like what that did, like, because they were not the same team
Mm-mm.
after that when he got
No.
back on the court. Him missing. I mean, he lost rhythm. He lost the timing with everyone. He wasn't the same player, and
No.
they weren't the same team. And to go out and do this again, like, it's just asinine. Like, I
Yeah.
don't get it. Like, you're getting paid so much money, and he's a role model. You've got kids
That's
looking up to you saying,
the huge thing. Mm-hmm.
I want to be like this guy. And then you're out here on Instagram Live, acting like a thug that he's not even a real thug. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I mean, and even if you want to play dress up and do that, like, don't put it on live stream. Like,
Hey,
don't put any cameras around you.
just do
Like,
this. Do this. I
well,
mean,
he does that a lot. There's a
he
lot
does
of
that
memes
on the
going
court.
around
Yeah. Yeah. And he
where
throws game
he's
signs
like
too.
doing this and like,
Yeah.
I'm, I, I don't get it. Getting paid that much money, like, this is generational wealth we're talking about. Like, you're changing your entire
Mm-hmm.
family's path, like,
Yeah.
for
Sure.
generations. And to do this and be selfish. Now, I get we're all immature and
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
but you need to, when you're that age, but you need to surround yourself with the right people that
Mm-hmm.
are gonna be there for you and not for them. Like, I don't know. I just, it's a bad situation. He needs a better mentor.
And this has been my biggest hiccup with the NBA. One and done in college. I think it's very important. And then you see a lot of the guys that come out of the NFL. They're more mature because they have to be in college a little bit longer. I think they develop some more, you know, life skills in college because obviously they have to maintain a certain standard when they're off the field of play. So NBA, these kids come out of high school, play 1 year in college, and they don't care about anything but basketball, which okay, that's fine. But 1 year, I don't think is long enough to mature. And then they come into the league, they're faced with all this money, all this responsibility and freedom that they've never had. And I don't think some of these players, whether it being their upbringing or whatever the case may be, I don't think they fully embrace the mature level, or they want to embrace it until something like this happens. So looking at Ja Morant, in my opinion, you give him one more chance. Obviously, everyone in baseball, you get 3 strikes. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
give him one more chance. You take pay. You suspend him. What I think I'm hearing 25 games. I think that's a slap on the wrist. But if it's 25 games, you take his money. You do not pay him. And then you say, next time this happens, we're voiding your contract, because I
Yep.
got
You're
to believe
done.
there's something in that contract that says if you get in trouble with the law or you do something to against the detriment of the team, um, we're going to boot you. And I think that's a situation that needs to happen in Memphis.
I agree. Well, there's all these addendums in these contracts for any superstar athlete.
Hmm.
Like, you can't go skiing, you can't ride a motorcycle. Like, there's dangerous things that you can't do.
Hmm.
Maybe they need to start putting, you can't carry guns around or wave
We need to
guns
vet
around.
who you hang around with. I mean,
Yeah, like, you know, and maybe, I don't think it falls on the actual league to do this, but maybe the parents need to start looking at, if they do have a superstar child in situations like this, setting them up with a better mentor or somebody, whether it be an ex NBA player, somebody that's been through this and knows the system and what you're going to face. I don't know if they even think about things like that, or maybe they do. Maybe that's already in place, and it's just
yeah.
something he doesn't do. But there's ways around that, and I get immaturity. Like, we all did dumb stuff, but we all also didn't have $100 million on the line.
No,
So
no.
um, there's risk or reward there. So do you want to be cool with your boys that you grew up with, or if they're really your boys, wouldn't they be rooting you on to stay
Right.
clean and
Yeah. Not
steer clear
encouraging
of
you.
all that. Right.
Yep.
And the biggest thing, like I said, is that makes me I guess upset a little bit about it. Cause I mean, he's got so many kids looking up to him that come from
Yeah.
tough places and that are like, I want to be, I mean, that's what Jordan was to so many people. And, LeBron and Charles Barkley and Shaq and, all these players. And I don't know. Of course, there wasn't social media back then, but
Yeah, that's true.
it's a new time, so you got to adapt, right? Like you gotta figure it out. So,
Who knows what Magic's in
well,
store
we
after that.
know some Dennis Rodman stories,
Oh
and
my goodness. Yeah, that would be crazy. I do know
but
some leagues, and I think the NFL does like for all the rookies, like a symposium to where
sure,
they come in and say, "Hey, you know what? You're going to get a lot of attention that you're not used to. You're going to get a lot of family members, a lot of friends asking for
yeah. I
money."
mean, that feels more like school, though, like a class.
Yeah,
That when you're grouped in with a bunch of people, you think those kids are paying attention? Hell no.
probably not. They're just
I'm
thinking,
talking about like a one-on-one,
yeah,
like somebody to talk real to you, be like, hey, what in the hell are you doing? Like, let's go,
straighten
dude.
up.
Like, this is what you got on the line. So, anyway, I digress.
Yes, for sure. Um, and another situation to where have we seen the last of it? This team has been uh, the staple of the NBA for the last probably 8-9 years. The Golden State Warriors get defeated by the Lakers in 6 games in the last round. They looked all out of sorts. Have we seen the end of the dynasty that was the Golden State Warriors?
It's very possible. I think there's some potential moves to be made here. I didn't get a chance to look up. I was trying to look up contract deals. I didn't have time to do that. Like who's about up on contract or max deal situation.
I think Clay is
Um,
up. Clay is
yeah,
up, and
I,
Draymond's close.
Draymond. I think he's got a year left,
I think
maybe.
so.
Um, but yeah, I mean, and they're also, Draymond's not getting any younger. I mean,
Mhm. His
we've talked
beard will
about
agree
this.
with you.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. He's one of the last, 80s, 90s kind of
Throwback.
players that it's just throwback, just physical kind of guys. And, body takes a toll after a
Yeah.
while. I, I don't know. I mean, not winning it this year, I think they try to keep most of it together. I don't know what they're going to do with Clay and, how they're going to restructure that and figure out. I would think they would want to keep Clay and uh, Steph together. Just, I mean, that's the whole kind of center of the team. Draymond, obviously an amazing defender and a huge leader on that team. So if they want to try and give it one more run, I could see them trying to keep it together one more year.
I
But
know
we're getting close, man, to that
Clay
being
said he'd
broken up.
take a pay cut to stay.
Yeah. And I think Steph would too. Steph would probably restructure, do something if he had to. These guys that's also another thing that's kind of lost in these days. People doing stuff like that and not being so
Mhm.
selfish.
Right. You-
They've already made a ton of money. It's like, what's an extra 5 or 10 million this year?
Right.
I can restructure and play with my boys. So, um, it is what it is. But I do think we might see another year, maybe two at the most with these guys. Time windows closing for sure.
I know the one thing that I guess was intriguing for me was you could always depend on Steph Curry hitting the big shot when they needed it. And it seemed in that game 6 in that fourth quarter, he just didn't have the touch. I mean, they were open looks. They were shots that he hits blindfolded, and he just wasn't coming down with it. And then also Jordan Poole seemed to be kind of the oil in the situation. There was a lot of publicity around him that he was involved with some Instagram models and not had hit in the game. And then I want to say it was game 2 or 3 in the series. he was coming to the sidelines, and Draymond went to dab him up like, "Hey," and he just walked right past him and didn't even acknowledge him. So the chemistry just doesn't seem to be there, and you're just not used to seeing that from a Steve Kerr coach team, and
Sure.
just from that unit who even when they were, losing a couple years ago, they still were a really tight unit, and you just didn't see that in this playoff run.
Yeah, I agree with that. Poole's been kind of hit or miss all season. I mean,
Yeah.
he'd have great games. There's got to be something else going on there,
Mhm.
or it's just gonna eventually be the type of player he is. Wiggins did pretty well this year for him. He made some big plays, but I mean that core group, it's those three,
Right.
and
Right.
they just kind of interchange. Now, Poole was a promising prospect. Like I said, he came out and he had some really good games, um, kind of Steph-esque with the
Mhm.
three ball
I think
and
he's
some
trying to
really
be
great
like
shots.
Steph.
Yeah, and he's not. Nobody's going to
No,
be Steph.
no.
We might never see that in our lifetime.
Probably.
So, dude's the greatest shooter of all time.
I agree with that.
But they've definitely got some issues there. I wouldn't say it's lack of heart, because I know how big of a heart Steph and Draymond have. Clay is, I think he's there with them. Probably not as much, just by looking at them and listening to some of their uh, interviews or whatever after. But all good things come to an end at
Yeah.
one point eventually. So it's creeping up very soon.
Yep, when my Pistons, the bad boy era, when they lost to the Bulls in '91, and Isaiah took his team to the locker room before the game was over, which I think was a classless move. I loved that team, and that was disappointing. And
Yeah,
that
didn't
was
shake
tough.
hands and
Yeah,
yeah,
no, which it cost him because he was left off the dream team in '92 because of that.
yeah,
Um, so seeing these teams that, I mean, in my situation that I grew up with, I loved. I mean, I was so passionate for them. Seeing their decline, it just shook my core.
yeah.
So
It breaks your heart.
I can imagine Golden State fans are eagerly, uneagerly preparing for their demise. Um, so,
Hmm.
but moving on to the meat and potatoes of the NBA, we got the conference championship series going. Lakers, Nuggets, and the Celtics, and the Heat. Last night, Boston gets upended by the Heat in the second half. Just tear by the Heat. 46-25 outscored them in the third. Boston had a 12-point lead, and that went by the wayside. Just Jimmy Butler he's got to be the most underrated superstar in the NBA. All he does is go out and produce. Just a heck of a player. And then looking at the rest of that Heat team, uh, Bam Adebayo, and you got Kyle Lowry coming off the bench. You got some pretty good core players, but no superstars. So and then Boston having Jason Tatum and what he did in Game 7, he comes out with 30 points in this game. Just disappointing for them to come out Game 1 at home and lose in the fashion they did.
Yeah, it was. Everyone, all the sharps were on the Celtics -8. I thought that was too many points. It ended up getting up to 8.5, and I took it at 8.5. Not that I know anything like betting wise what I'm talking about half the time, but I do like playoff Jimmy. You can't count him out.
No.
He's a one man wrecking crew, and he did need some help from the outside guys. Bam played some great defense. Had a few assists in there when he needed to. Kyle Lowry came out of nowhere. Like he looked like Raptors Kyle Lowry, draining some threes. He was 3 for 3 of his first 3 shots, from
That's their
3-point
game,
line.
and that's their game.
and he hasn't been that hot all year. So he to win this series, they need some outside help like that. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't put it all on Jimmy. It was funny how the transition of the game went, or the flow of the game, because the first quarter they came out and I was like, man, the Heat are here. They're, Jimmy Butler, he was on fire, all the big names. And then second quarter, it was just like crickets. Like the Heat looked like the Heat we watched, before the trade deadline. Like they looked so bad.
They look like the
Celtic,
Pistons.
yeah, the Celtics were dominating, and I was like, okay, this game's getting out of hand. They're going to have to make a big halftime adjustment.
Eric
I was
Spoelstra.
I was a little late coming back from halftime. I think it was like 2 minutes in, and they were down 12 at half. And then I come back and the Heat are up like 4 points. I was like, what? Like, what happened? And then they just dominate. They took over there. And then we've seen this from Tatum in the past. These games that just somehow find him when all the lights on him, like just dumb boneheaded mistakes. Like he had 2 or 3 turnovers, like a couple travels there towards the end in the fourth quarter.
The travel in the fourth quarter where he jumped up with the ball and came down with it. That's middle school right there. Like I couldn't believe I was watching that from an NBA star. It was shocking to me.
I know. It's just those pressure plays, those boneheaded plays. It goes back to fundamentals and like trusting.
Yeah.
That. And sometimes you see flashes of Tatum where he just does that, and it's crazy because you just watched the Game 7 where he balled out and looked like one of the best players in the NBA, and it's like, how do you get that every time out of him? So hopefully they can. I think it's still ultimately going to be a great series.
Yeah.
This one I was really looking forward to watching because everybody always counts the Heat out. And this went to Game 7 last year, the Heat and the Celtics. Celtics won, obviously, but I don't know. I'm not so sure this time. They come out and still Game 1 in MSG. That's Jimmy Butler, man. That dude is on a mission, and he's getting his team ready. So I'm looking forward to it.
And you look, before we jump onto the next series, you got Eric Spoelstra, who is elite, coach. We just need to say it. He's elite.
Handpicked by Pat Riley.
Pat Riley, yep. He's got 2 NBA championships.
At 37, I think.
Yeah, he was the youngest coach at the time.
Yeah.
Very quiet. And what he's been able to do with superstars, with egos, is unparalleled. So you have Eric Spoelstra, who's a top 3 NBA coach in the league right now, and that could be higher, going up against a rookie coach. So I think those matchups, those adjustments, those in-game halftime adjustments, like he did last night, I think that could possibly be the key to Miami winning this series. All talent aside, I mean, Boston's got it, Miami's as well. But when it comes down to the X's and O's, the coach makes all the difference in the world. And this could be a situation where Eric Spoelstra just spins the right wheels and, he gets those Miami boys into the NBA Finals. So that it's going to be awesome series moving forward. Obviously, game number 2 tomorrow night, 8:30.
Yeah. So no, you bring up a great point real quick before we move on to the next one. A huge halftime adjustment that he made. So Williams was killing the Heat on the offensive boards all night, or the whole first half. Like the Heat were not boxing out like they normally do. Williams was, getting every rebound. I think he had, 8 or 10 rebounds in the first half, which is, crazy, just mostly offensive rebounds. And then you see that transition, that halftime adjustment. And that wasn't the case so much. They came out in third quarter, like I said, just blazing. So big props to him. Coaching has a ton to do with it, for sure.
46 points in that third quarter. Either
Yeah.
he was throwing things at halftime or there was silence. And sometimes silence is golden. And I know when I was growing up that my parents were silent. I knew I was in trouble.
Yes.
So moving on to the Western Conference Finals, which game 2 is actually going on as we speak. The Lakers are currently up 62-55 with just under 9 minutes to play in the third quarter. Denver came out, I mean, kind of like Boston did, as you were saying last night. Denver jumped out. It was 72, I want to say 72-54 at the half. Just an unbelievable first half for the Denver Nuggets. My opinion, the NBA MVP, which should have been the third MVP in a row, Nikola Jokic, another
Yep.
triple-double. He's just unbelievable.
He almost had a triple-double in the first half. Like,
It's
it
just
was
ridiculous. Anthony Davis, 40 points, big game. But he only had 9 rebounds, and that could pose a problem. So looking at game 2 here, the Lakers seem to be playing a little bit better. They've made adjustments, but Denver came out in game 1. Obviously, they did not care with all the hype of the Lakers being the favorite to win it all. They just played their game. Jamal Murray had 27 points. Just good effort by Denver. But the Lakers came back with gangbusters in the fourth quarter and made it a game until like just about 2-minute mark when Denver kind of put it out of hand. So you have to like what the Lakers were able to do in that second half, but it was just not enough. But it seems to have been rolling into this game. So what do you think about this series?
Another great matchup. Another underestimated Lakers team, in my opinion. I think what we saw out of Denver this first game, I mean, they could not miss. They were making everything all over the court. And then the Lakers still somehow found a way to hang in there. You're not going to see Denver be able to keep that pace and just, I can't remember what they shot, but it was like 60% or something crazy. Like, just made everything. And the Lakers were within 6 points. So, Davis again is starting to show some consistency. He had some games where, Glassman here, he's either injured or, he gets 14 points and 8 rebounds and is just a non-factor. But he has shown consistency through the last 2 series, especially later in the last series. And then, now continuing on to this one, that he is a dominant defender and he can score 40 points. Yeah. So I like the Lakers' position here. If they can pull this game out tonight, which it looks, I wouldn't say promising, but it looks, decent, for pretty good chance for them to do so, since they were a 9-point favorite, I think, or 5.5-point dog. Sorry. I was looking at my wrong notes. I think they got a good shot here. So I'm anxious to see this series. I think it could go to 7 games, kind of back and forth here. But yeah, the Joker, that dude, he was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And even, Davis, he had great defense on him all night. It's just the dude is going to get his points. Like, he's going to do 21 rebounds. I mean, this is Dennis Rodman-esque, like
we talked about last week's show, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, the comparison.
Sure.
I think Jokic is very similar to how Dirk Nowitzki plays, in a sense that you can pull the center out from underneath. He can shoot. He's athletic as all get up, and he can pass the ball. So there's nowhere on that court that is off limits when it comes to Jokic. So it's going to be a tall task, that's for sure, for Anthony Davis. But if there is a player that can, D him up, it is Davis. So, and then clearly, the whole altitude, coming into play. It doesn't look like it's affecting LA today. They've been there since Sunday, so I think they've gotten a little more acclimated. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be interesting to see this thing go back to LA to see the speed. I think we're going to get a little bit more speed from the Lakers.
Sure.
But then again, we might get a little bit more speed from the Nuggets. But I do agree with you. I think this thing's destined for 7.
Yeah. Well, and obviously the tell of all tales here is the matchup between Jokic and Davis and how that plays out.
Mhm.
So, who can dominate that?
Yep.
I think that's the team that wins.
You got 2 matchups. I think it's safe to say they're probably the best matchups that we could have had for the NBA going into the
Oh
finals.
yeah,
So
great.
it's
And a 7 and an 8 seed, which it's not really a 7 and an 8 seed after
right.
the trade deadline. These
Yeah.
teams, were top of the NBA. So amazing what trades can do.
Sure. And the right trade. You got to bring
And
the right people in.
the right people, and it also shows how much the regular season doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Just get in. I mean, the Lakers playing game. I mean, playing
Yeah,
series they got in. So,
exactly.
but we're gonna move on real quick. We're gonna hit on some NHL. I'll just spitball here.
Yep, go for it.
Starting tonight, got the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricane. The NHL has to be ecstatic about these 2 teams, Southern teams. They have a love affair with the South. There's a lot of indications that the Arizona uh, Coyotes, I couldn't get that one out. The city of Tempe just declined or voted down an offer for them to build a new arena. All indications are the Coyotes are done. They're going to move out. Houston is the top spot for them to go. They love the southern cities. Houston's the largest city that does not have an NHL team. So for them, looking at the 2 Eastern Conference representatives, Carolina and the Panthers, they got to love it. And you've got in this series, Florida just has been absolutely scrappy. They just took out Toronto, who were a juggernaut this season. Another example of regular season doesn't matter because Toronto just steamrolled through the regular season. And they get stunned at home in game 7 in overtime. And Carolina has been just consistent all year long. Great fan base. Those fans love it. They do the I forget what they call it a something warning. I don't know. It's crazy, but the fans have bought in, and that's awesome. And you've experienced that with the Predators down in Nashville. It's a big draw. So this series is 2 teams that are they're going to give it their all, and it's going to be fun to watch. Currently, game 1, it's tied 2-2 with a little over 13 to play in the third. Florida has proven that home ice does not matter because looking at the last series, they won all 3 games in Toronto, which is not easy to do.
Wow.
So they're primed. They're primed for this. I actually on the Easy Speak podcast on Monday night, I took Florida to win this game, and it's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. But ultimately, I think Carolina will come out on top in this series. I think they've got a little bit too much. Goaltending for Florida is pretty top notch, but they've got a lot of savvy veterans, and I don't think they can keep up the pace. And then in the other series, you have the Dallas Stars going up against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. The Knights, who, like Florida, just took out Edmonton, who regular season just monsters. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, just offensively unbelievable. Vegas said not so fast. They took them out in 7, and so this series could be good, could be really good. I'm looking for both of these things to go 7, and that's the beauty of NHL playoffs. It could be tight. I'm going to go Dallas in that one. I think they've got a little bit more firepower. They got a little bit more speed and youth. So, give me the Stars. So I think the Stars and the Hurricane will be facing off for Lord Stanley's Cup obviously we'll dig into a little bit more of that on other episodes when we have Raj, who is another hockey enthusiast. So we can dig deep into that one. But we're going to move into another.
Yep. One question, real quick, before you do. So the Vegas Knights are a fairly new team, right? Like
This is
what, 2
their
or 3 years old?
fourth
Maybe
season, I
fourth
believe,
year?
third or fourth.
Okay. So if I remember correctly, they got like so many different draft picks because they were forming a new team or something like that. So like they got a ton of good players, and you see these teams that have been there forever, and this is what, the second or third time they've been in this position.
Well, they went to the Cup Finals in their first year.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Like,
they have a draft. Basically, teams can only protect so many players. So
right,
there's players that get left unprotected. And then from that pool of players, they're able to,
they can
select from.
draft.
Right.
Okay,
Right. So you're getting guys that have NHL experience, good talent that you wouldn't normally get from a basic, like, new franchise. So
sure.
and look at Seattle. Seattle, second year, they started last year. Second year, they make it to the semis, the conference semis. So, that's true. You pick up a lot of guys in this draft, and then you have some money, you have some free agent
Mm-hmm.
money to spend, and you got to try and sell your city, and your Seattle, you can sell
Vegas
it.
is not hard to sell.
Vegas, so they're in a really good situation. So it's no
Yeah.
surprise that those two have been successful.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I just had a
Oh no, I should have
question about that.
thrown something your way, but we're gonna let you talk on this next topic, the PGA Championship going on today, and we talked earlier, real sloppy start to
It
this tournament.
was.
Some of the big names definitely not showing up. What did you
No.
think?
So, yeah. Jason Day, one of the big names, just coming off a win last week. Back in the winner's circle. I think it's been 5 years maybe since he's won, and he's +6 right now. Again, this is a really tough course. There's some guys that played really well today. Some other big names, DeChambeau, of course, Scotty Scheffler, who is always on top of the leaderboard, no matter what tournament, and a guy that you expect to be there, John Rahm, is not. He's also +6,
Yeah.
sitting back there with Day. So it's a tough course, and it's very calculated. The rough is really thick, and it punishes you tremendously. The greens, most of them slope from back to front. A lot of false fronts. You try and hit it on the front, it rolls back to you. It's a very tight course. It's a very long course, and it's only a par 70. I think it's like 7,200 and something yards for a par 70. So it's very long. So long, accurate hitters are going to do well here. And again, like I said, Scotty Scheffler is surprisingly always on top, or not surprisingly always on top.
Yeah. He's the favorite.
So yeah, he was the favorite coming into it, and he still is right now because of his position. But there's a lot of golf left,
Oh,
and
sure.
you'll see people crumble. People that had a good round today, like Eric Cole, DeChambeau. DeChambeau could hang around there. We'll see. He's lost a lot of his mass and
Yeah, I
weight
noticed that. He didn't look,
because it.
his head didn't look as big as it used to be.
No, when he was doing all that, so yeah, he gained power and distance, but he started getting injuries,
Yeah.
which your body can only take so much. Your tendons can only take so much torque with that muscle. I mean, you're only built so big, and I think that sidebar, that happens to a lot of professional athletes. Period, in NFL and other sports. You pack on that much muscle on a frame that's not
Can't handle it.
not prepared to handle it, I mean, you're going to start tearing stuff. So anyway, so yeah, it's good to see him back. He looks healthy now and not like so, roided out. And
We haven't seen DeChambeau in quite some time, obviously because he's on the live.
Yeah, he's in the live tour, which we might hit on that here in a minute. But these +1 guys and +3 guys and +4 guys are still in it. Spieth at +3. I think those guys, even Day and Rahm, I mean, they go out and shoot a 400 or 500 tomorrow. They're right in the mix of it. It's going to be a fun tournament. These tournaments are always really tough to gauge. I mean, last year, Justin Thomas won, and he was 6 shots back to start Sunday. So, I mean, these courses are tough, and you just get your popcorn out and watch, because there's going to be some entertainment there, as far as golf can be entertaining.
Do you think some of these higher scores, specifically Rahm, Spieth, do you think this is attributed to the fact that the weather situation in New York, there was a frost delay? It was like an hour and a half delay, so the course was not playing very strong. Would you say that might have something to do with some of these higher scores compared to the guys that teed off a little bit later? The course seemed to adjust as the day went on.
Absolutely, it's luck of the draw, right? So Scotty Scheffler hit that sweet spot, like when he teed off. I think he teed off at like 10 or 9:30 or 10. So the fog had lifted, the sun has been out, starting to burn up a lot of the dew on the ground. Ball's starting to roll, cooling or starting to warm up and everything out there. And then, yes, those first few holes that you have to play, first 6-8 holes, when it's cold first thing in the morning, definitely has an effect. I mean, the moisture, the density of the air, like there's so many factors that go into it. So it absolutely affects, and that's why they always swap times back and forth. Like the first 2 days you play in the morning. If you make the cut, then you flip flop and you go, afternoon on Saturday and try and mix it up. But it's luck of the draw. I mean, it really is. But again, it's still a TV production, so they do make big names kind of paired together. So that's obviously not luck, but they do. Yeah. They make sure they have big names in the morning, all throughout the day in the pairings to keep people watching. So,
after this round is completed, who do you like taking it home?
I mean, it's hard to go against Scotty Scheffler at this point. I originally had picked Xander Schauffele, which he's at +1 right now, so he's still got a shot in there. He started off really, really bad. I do like
+1,800 to start.
I really like Tony Finau too. Dude's just been playing really, really well. He hits the ball far, really good wedge game.
Cool guy too.
Good putter. Just an awesome guy. Love him.
Great story.
No, absolutely. So I really like those two. I'm rooting for them. I'd be happy if Scotty won, just to see. I mean, he's had an amazing career so far, and just to see him keep going would be great. But I wouldn't be surprised if DeChambeau or Phil or one of these live guys is in the mix here at the end as well. Dustin Johnson, another big name.
Yeah, he had a nice round.
He just won. 4. He's coming off a win last week in the Live Tour, so he's right there. So this course will eat you alive. So it's really going to be entertaining. No one's going to run away with it. I think you're going to see like a -9 or a -11 take this thing home.
And you look at the leader is like -5, I think, or -6 or something like that.
Yeah, Eric Cole's -5.
It's striking distance. Everyone's in striking distance. So my pick, I've watched him play this year and I'm impressed. He's young. He hits the ball hard and far. I like Victor Hovland. I think he's come real close. in a couple
It's a great
tournaments.
pick.
He was right in the mix of the Masters up until Sunday, but he's
Hmm.
sitting at 2 under. I like the way he plays. You look at him at face value, and you don't think he could hit the ball. Man, does he have just an aggressive swing, and he can drive the heck out of it. So I like him in this tournament.
No, that's a great pick. He played really well this morning too. I think he got up to -3 or -4 at one point,
Yeah.
and then kind of fell off a little bit, but overall held it together. -2, shot a 68. So that's really good for this course. First day, a lot of these guys too. They're going to fill it out a little bit
Mhm.
more during a full round. So you're going to see some of these guys really zone in. Victor Hovland is a great pick. He always does well in majors. So I definitely like that one.
Speaking of courses, I guess the Live Tour was having a bit of an issue with their course last week, but their biggest concern is their TV ratings. Apparently, they've dropped 24%, and now Live is refusing to report U.S. TV ratings. Is this something to worry about with Live moving forward?
I don't think so, because they have more money than anyone else, and
Yeah.
they can keep this thing rolling as long as they want to. And I think they knew that coming into it. It's going to take a few years to pick up steam. But let's be honest. In my opinion, even the PGA, these championships, all the talk before, like, oh, no one's going to play in the majors. They can't play in the. Look at where all the big names are. They're in the
Mhm.
majors. Live's
And
not going anywhere.
and the fact that they play in these majors, I think the allure twofold. I think the allure of Live players who the PGA said they're not going to play, they're playing. That's one, and number two, most people don't get an opportunity to see these Live players play. So now they're getting a chance to see them play because Live is played on. Is it the WB or what's the network that
W maybe it's WV.
EW or
Yeah,
something like that?
CW. Yeah.
It's some just
Yeah,
I don't know.
CW. It's like just mediocre network. It's got like
Right.
teeny bopper stuff on it most of the time.
Cartoons and stuff.
Yeah, and it's the only place that picked them up, but they did get a TV contract, and that was their first
Yeah.
step. So regardless of viewing whatever 400,000, 500,000 people, what
Yeah.
I haven't watched one yet, and I'm
Yeah.
a very avid golfer.
Right. Well,
Will
you're
I
too busy
eventually?
golfing.
Well, that's true. And I don't even know their schedule. Like, they don't do enough advertising, in my
No, you
opinion.
don't.
Like, I have no idea what if I knew there was a live golf, tournament on, I might tune in,
Sure.
if there's nothing else on.
Sure.
But no, I don't even know when they play, what their schedule is. So bad on their part for the advertisement,
Right.
because or lack thereof. There's nothing. I don't know when it's coming out. But no, they're not going anywhere at all, and
In
they're not worried.
in this day and age of, people cutting cable because, obviously skyrocketing prices, these apps now you can access, you know, Apple TV, Roku, whatever the situation is. I can see a situation where Live has their own channel and then they have an app that you can access it through. I think that would be a big winner for them. More people will have access to that because I don't think everybody has access to the CW. So if they had a Live Golf channel where they would be
Like
able
a
to,
a la carte.
yep, where you'd be able to broadcast all 3 rounds because they only played 3 rounds, and then maybe some other types of programming and other events or whatever. I think that would be a big winner for them, and I see that could be excuse me, a situation down the road for them.
Yeah. No, I agree. They're going to be around, and I think it's just going to take a couple years to really start noticing, because there's still some animosity between, like, the hardcore PGA guys that are just like, I can't believe these, they left and went for the money and blah, blah. But eventually that's all. You know what heals all things? Time. Like time will heal this eventually. And
I agree.
then it's just going to be like, if that's your favorite golfer and you want to watch him play, you'll
Mhm.
tune in and watch him play. So, um,
Exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, and we'll obviously recap that next week. Hopefully, we have a full crew. But now we're going to move on to our favorite segment of the show. It's time for Bet Your Nuts. Oh yes, gotta love that jingle. Get you ready. Get your blood pumping as the Nuggets have cut it to 3 at the end of the third quarter. Still tied
yeah.
in the NHL game. Brandon, what you got this week?
I'm going to keep it in the NBA, and we're going to go back to tomorrow night in the Eastern Conference. Back to the Eastern Conference. The Heat get no respect. They're
No.
+9 right now. They were +8 yesterday,
Yep.
and they dominated. So give me the Heat +9. Playoff Jimmy. He's already proved a point. Let's go. Celtics may win this one, but they're not winning by 9.
I agree with you on that. I too have the Heat +320 on the money line.
Oh, I love that.
According to FanDuel, I'm sorry, DraftKings, excuse me. I not only think the Heat will cover, I think they come out with more confidence than they did yesterday. They come out and stun the parquet Celtics and go back home to South Beach with a 2-0 lead. I like Miami +320. And I will throw in another one for Robbie. This one's for you, kid. NASCAR All-Star race this weekend. William Byron +1,000. Book it. That's for you, Robbie. Take $10, win 100. Throw some my way if you can.
Nice.
And now we are going to move on to the final segment of the show. Obviously, 2 people in that picture are not with us. Brandon, you got any final words?
Man, I'm for not a lot going on, aka NFL sports this weekend. I'm excited for the sports weekend. We got the NBA, NHL, and we got the PGA Championship all balled into one. So I will have either a device somehow listening or watching throughout the day and weekend for sure, watching these games and listening to them. So I'm looking forward to this sports weekend. Doesn't come but once a year, so definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Non-NFL, that's for sure. Baseball just kind of ho-hum as the season goes on.
It's too long of a season. It's just I'm not interested yet.
We know Robbie's take on the baseball season, NASCAR as well. But yeah, I agree. This weekend is packed. It's always good for the conference championships. My final words is I want to pay a little respect to what our 2 co-hosts that aren't here really do. Robbie being able to come up with questions as the host pretty much on the fly. That's not an easy task. I as you're talking, I'm my head's spinning. Okay, what do I want to say? It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do.
Sure.
So I respect the hell out of what he brings to this show. And then Raj, just it doesn't feel right unless we get some kind of ridiculous stats from players neither one of us have probably heard of. He's amazing what his knowledge level is and his preparation, albeit he's late all the time, but we let that go because of just what he brings to the show, and it's awesome.
He's like Chat GPT.
Yes.
Like stats.
Now I wonder, are you using Chat GPT, Raj? I know you're watching, sitting in your bed all sick, but no, we we love you guys, and we hope. We're not sure about Raj next week. He's got a conference in Vegas, so he says he might call in from his conference. But Robbie, you'll probably be back, and we're looking forward to it. But with that being said, hey, Brandon, great show. I know we improv this thing. We talked pregame or texting pre-show, like, we're gonna do this. You're like, let's do it. All right, let's go. And up until the point where I was ready to hit record, we weren't sure who was gonna host. So it's our longest show we've had in probably 2 months. So it worked out well. So great show, and look forward to doing another one with you next week.
Yeah, well said, and great job hosting by you. So look forward to it. See you guys.
Thank you.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, everyone that watched, thank you so much. Everyone that's going to listen tomorrow on their way to work, heading into San Francisco, you know who you are. Thank you so much. Tell everyone, all your friends, to like and follow and subscribe and all that good stuff. We will see you guys next week. Peace. Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.